Hello, my name is Tom DeHaas. I'm the Agriculture and Natural Resource Educator in Erie County, and I'm here to talk to you today about spotted lanternfly and tree of heaven. Spotted lanternfly is native to the Orient, and so it is an invasive pest that has come to the United States around 2014, and so it was found in Western PA about 3 years ago. Or 2017, and as of 3 years ago, this is where the spread had, where the quarantine had extended to. So that is Western Pennsylvania, right around Philadelphia. And you'll notice that the blue is indicating the spread of spotted lanternfly. All those areas are quarantined. The ones that have a purple dot, which are difficult to see, means that one of the life stages has been found in that area. As we look at this map, the question might be, why is the blue extending across Pennsylvania? Well, as a matter of fact, that's exactly where the railroads run, and they cross the Allegheny Mountains. So that is attributed to where much of the spread is coming from, so railroads, and then we'll talk about tree of heaven. As of last year, we had found spotted lanternfly, all life cycles or all life stages in Jefferson County and also in Cuyahoga County. And those two areas have become quarantined. So we have here and here. We get a little farther. As of very recently, 2022, February, we did find egg masses in Amherst, Ohio, along the railroad tracks on Tree of Heaven. So that is something that has not been identified as a quarantined county yet, but Lorraine may be headed that way. We look at the spotted lanternfly right now, this time of year, which is spring or late winter, you would have just the egg masses. As the life cycle progresses, starting in about May, you get these nymphs hatch. And the nymphs are only about 1/8 of an inch around, and they tend to gravitate up to the top of the tree. So they're pretty difficult to see. The fourth end star is this red insect that actually has a red body with black and white spots. And then that will go ahead and become the adult spotted lanternfly. Typically, you don't see the wings extended unless the spotted lanternfly has been disturbed. And then you have the adults, and this is the female laying eggs. Again, this is a female that has eggs in it, so you can kind of see that. Typically, the eggs are laid on some kind of hard surface or tree of heaven, and they have a kind of the shiny coating, but eventually that coating takes on what I consider looks very much like silly putty. If you ever played with silly putty, it's got kind of that very dark gray and kind of a look like that. Egg masses eventually, as they go through the year, will eventually lose that kind of a shiny, and you'll see these are eggs that are exposed right here, and this is an egg mass that has that covering in late winter. And they're pretty difficult to see. You can see the egg masses there. You can see egg masses, and you can see that there's some sap flow there as well, which we'll talk about. They also lay them on hard surfaces. So if we think about the railroads, underneath rail cars, along anything that's steel and rough, that would be a good place for them to lay underneath trucks, truck chassis. And their favorite host plant besides Tree of Heaven is grapes. They also feed on apples, so we're concerned about that, our fruit trees. Preferred host is Tree of Heaven, Ailanthus altissima, and then you have a picture of the Tree of Heaven in leaf, and then you have the flowers, which we'll talk more about. They also will gravitate to grapes and complete all of their life cycles on grapes. So the host list in Virginia, it's found on a lot of different things. And in Amherst, we did find it on Tree of Heaven, as well as we found it on mulberry. And it has been found on Mazur cherry, which is native to the Orient. There is an app for that, the Great Lakes Early Detection Network app. You can use that to spot. The monitoring is a circle trap. The problem is that they have not found a good pheromone as to what will attract the tree of the spotted lanternfly. So we move forward to tree of heaven, which is the favorite host plant of spotted lanternfly. So we do have the spotted lanternfly. You'll see egg masses, and this was taken last summer in Cuyahoga County. Pretty difficult to see, but you can see that there's a bunch underneath the bottom branches of this tree, and you can see the seed pods of tree of heaven right here. We'll talk a little more about identifying characteristics. Can you see the 3 egg masses in this picture? They're right there. So again, very difficult to see. Typically, they will lay eggs on the underside of branches as well as on the vertical portions of tree of heaven. Tree of heaven tends to grow near railroad tracks or disturbed areas. So here's a good example of tree of heaven growing near a railroad. In the late spring into summer, this is what tree of heaven will form these seed pods that will be in clusters. That's what the fruit looked like pretty close up. They were samara, and they have a seed in the middle of that. Pretty prolific. And the leaflets on tree of heaven are smooth. They have a little notch down here at the bottom, 2 lobes at the bottom, but they are a smooth leaf. Sumac, on the other hand, will have this upright droop fruit, kind of a pinkish, going to red in summer. And that's what that fruit looks like in the summertime. The difference is sumac actually has a toothed leaflet. You can see the teeth on this. And that's the whole leaf of sumac. In this picture, you will see sumac in the foreground, tree of heaven in the background. And you can tell the difference because you look at those clusters and you can definitely see that the fruit is different on those 2. In addition, one very good way of telling tree of heaven is this heart-shaped leaf scar. And so when the leaf comes off, it's got this very heart-shaped leaf scar that it will maintain for a couple of years. Whereas sumac buds tend to be surrounded by the leaf scar. I kind of refer to this as almost like a horseshoe. The bark on tree of heaven is very rough. Sometimes people consider it to look like alligator skin. Sumac, the tree bark is much smoother and almost takes on a characteristic of almost a cherry. They are phloem feeders, and so you can see a lot of these. A lot of times they will feed, and then it drips honeydew. But again, if you look at this bark, you can really see the very scaly bark of tree of heaven, and again, almost like alligator scales. Talked about the spotted lanternfly life cycle. In the springtime or late winter, you will be in the egg form, and then those nymphs will begin to hatch all the way to the 4th end star, and then onto the adults. There is an app for that. If you have an iPhone, you need to search for it under Great Lakes EDN, and if you have an Android, you just look up GLEDN, and you can download the free app. And that's a way to report what you're seeing. So again, go to the App Store. I would encourage you to do that now so that you have it on your phone. There is an initiative for everybody to have this card that works with plant nursery stock, and to have this card in their pocket. And if you were to see a spotted lanternfly, the encouragement is to take a picture of it and then go ahead and go to this QR code and report what you found. Take a picture before you kill it. And right now, the encouragement is to take a picture and then try to capture it. They do not bite people or animals or anything. They're pretty harmless, but they are 1.5 inches long. So they up to 1.5 inches. So they can be pretty large. Keep your eyes out. Tell us what you see. If you have any questions, call your local extension office. Or feel free to email me at thehas.2@osu.edu. Thank you for your time.